got started was about 12-15 years ago. I had a couple good friends that was seeing I was harvesting a good number of bulls in Washington, some decent Roosevelts, and entered the draw for Wyoming. Drew that in 4 years. Took a decent bull in Wyoming. Got around to 12 years into the Arizona hunt. Got a decent bull in Arizona. So my next hunt was Utah, and I ended up drawing that last year. My son got to go with me on that hunt. It was a really neat hunt. We had some amazing experiences. Ran into puppies out in the woods. Seen bobcats. The rut was just starting to get heated up towards the end, and we had a huge rainstorm a couple days before the last day. The next day, I went down into Big Canyon after a big, probably 370 plus 7x7 bull. Slipped off some rocks, landed in the rocks, broke some ribs, bruised a kidney, crawled out of that hole and come back home empty-handed. So when I started to heal up from that, I started to think about what my next plan was going to be. Using up all the states that I had points in, I decided that I'd throw a Hail Mary at New Mexico because they had a random draw. We got to opening day and made a decision that we were going to go hunt some tanks that were not too far from our camp. And kind of where we were camped at was right on the New Mexico-Arizona state line. And the unit right next door I'd hunted 3 years before and taken my bull in Arizona. See the next ridge, next knob sticking out over to the left of it? That's where that lake is over there that I called up that little 6-point passed up. And then the next one over is where some big bulls were. And then a big storm come in, and Rick and I had to hike all the way out of there, try to beat the storm, and then over the top of that mountain back down to the ridge. And so I kind of knew the countryside a little bit of the terrain, and so we just decided we were going to start there, and we covered a lot of country that day. Had a little bit of competition, heard some elk, seen some elk, just didn't have any opportunities. So that's kind of how the opening day went, and it kind of went that way for a number of days. Close calls, seen some decent bulls, called in some bulls, had bulls just on the other side of the state line fence from us. It was just hit and miss, really close calls. but really no shot opportunities. We kind of were getting down to the last few days, and I'd kind of made a decision in my mind that maybe a 350 bull or better may not be in the cards, and that was kind of the quality bull that I was looking for. But I knew that the weekend traffic was going to be ramping up, and the thought of going home empty-handed was starting to weigh on me a little bit. And so I'd made a decision that I was going to take a shot at the first decent bull I had to shoot. So we started out that morning and got on the state fence line. Got into some elk right off the bat. That didn't pan out, and things kind of went quiet. So we moved back over to the tank, set up a decoy, got in the blind. We could hear a bull coming down the drainage, and we kind of waited for a while, and it didn't show up. So we made a decision to hike up on the ridge behind us and call into the next drainage. And we got an answer right away and decided to go after him. And we took off down in the canyon, and things started happening fast. Just got in position and got eyes on the bull. Made a little call, pulled him off the ridge, picked an opening I thought he was going to come into. Went ahead and got at draw and waited for him to walk into that opening and stopped him. Textbook, everything was perfect except for one little sapling that I didn't really see in that opening, and then that's where he stopped. And I just couldn't stay at draw any longer. I let down, kind of made a little call behind the tree that I was standing next to and got him to turn and walk in the other direction. I had to swing my bow up and around the tree, get back at draw again, and stop him again. Ended up getting about a 40-yard shot. I really don't even remember pulling the trigger on my release. I just remember seeing the elk jump, and I seen the location on the arrow looked a little high, and I got a little bit nervous. I stopped him right away with the cow call as quick as I could, and my son made his way over to me, and we heard him start coughing right away. So we knew he had a lung hit, so that was a little bit promising, but I was concerned it might be just one lung and was worried about what was going to happen next. So we decided to just kind of hang out there and give him some time. He walked on up on the ridge he come off of. Continued coughing in different directions. Made me nervous he was walking off or what was happening there, but just made a decision not to push this elk and just give him some time. The coughing quit, and I gave him another half hour, and we decided to head on up. We took off and headed up on that ridge and got up on top of the ridge, and I started to turn up the ridge. Kind of that's where I thought I heard the last sound from, and JD turned and kind of went down the ridge, and then I heard the "Hey Dad, over here," and I knew without even looking, I knew what that meant, and I turned and headed down towards JD, and he was at the animal. This was kind of a special deal. My son's been with me since he's 12 years old bull hunting. He's been on a number of harvests on some bulls with me, but was always after the fact. This was the first time that he was actually with me when the shot happened and when the recovery started. So getting hands on this bull was a special moment. I was really fortunate that he didn't go over into the next canyon. This is some really busted up, rugged, nasty country. And so we were lucky that he was right there. We was able to to work him up through the afternoon and get it all boned out, and work our way out of there. We were able to get an ATV part of the way there, and we packed the game bags and the rack out, and it was a late night, long day. Got back to the pickup, brought the pickup in, loaded it up with the game bags full of meat. Got back to camp, laid that meat all out so it would cool out that night. And then I still had to cape out the heads and cut the skull plate off. And it was a late night, probably didn't get to bed till midnight that night, and was back up early the next morning after a few hours sleep, and a 27-hour drive back to Washington. And it was a long day, heavy packs, a lot of excitement, and a hunt that I'll never forget.